back part of the cage now. I'm going to start with the mounting plates for the rear mainstays. We've got to, the requirements for any of these base plates have actually, they've got to be of a surface area of 7,500 square millimetres, and where I'm going to put this one is up in this corner. Being 7,500 square millimetres, the minimum, any one of the minimum dimensions has to be 65 millimetres. So in this case I've measured this. I'll probably be able to come 80 this way and 100 this way. The strengths in the vertical part of it, there's probably not a huge amount of strength down there. Definitely not much strength there where the old one was bolted to. And with this up here, I'll be able to tie it into the sidewall, weld it down through there. And once I've got those plates cut out and set out, I'll know then where I can come from for the rear stays. So I've made the first of the base plates there for the rear leg to land on. Because of the shape of the rear wheel arch, I've just done it up in a couple of facets and bent it. Be easy enough to weld the rear leg to that. At least now it sits pretty flat in there, and after it's been tidied up, I'll be able to weld it in there. I'll fill up these holes as well while I'm at it. I won't weld it in just yet. Be one of the last things that gets done after all the legs and that are welded to it. Okay, I've got some string laid out here now for the main backstay. So we're going to come from the front leg up here and triangulate down there. It'll make that corner nice and strong, and then from there we'll come down. This one here, as you can see, it's in a real good spot. Once all the main cage is welded up, I'll probably try and make as much of this back section that I can out of the car so I can get in real easily and weld all these places. So we'll then be welding the back part of it to this, and as you can see, real good access there through the window. Get a real good weld around there. With the string here in place of where the member's actually going to go, it's pretty easy then to just use a simple protractor to measure up the angles that the ends need to be cut at. Put that one in there and see it's pretty much at 50 degrees, 49 degrees away from the vertical. I'll write that down. 49. Of course this one's going to be the same because we're aiming to go through here at the same angle, which it is close enough to, about 50 degrees on that. So seeing as this is a 90-degree joint, I expect that to be 40, which it is. The plate down the bottom end is a little bit trickier because it's on. It's all over the shop really. It's not flat and it's not angled in one direction. It's angled in about 5 different directions. But that's easy enough to fix. Just cut it long and trim it back to suit. Okay, I've tacked in the little corner gussets, as you can see, just at the right top of the screen there. The next piece to make is the rear backstay. I've already cut the tube to length, and to get the cut at the bottom, I'm going to be using one of these to get the final measurements for it. Handy little device that just slides over the pipe, and then you push the pins in or out to make it match the profile. Then you just cut it to that profile. See, there's little markers, well, they're basically just a missing prong down there, so you can put a mark on the pipe and line it up once you've finished measuring it. I'll put that over the pipe first, top it off where it's going to finish. The top's exactly where it's got to go. You can feel that because we've already put the notch in at 55 degrees on this one. So it measures measured up to before. In this case here, I've already put a mark on the pipe on this side, so I'm just lining it up with that, and then press it down until all the little markers come in contact with the plate underneath. And we'll take it out and have a look to see where we need to cut the pipe to. It's only a trim really, just to get it to fit onto the plate a bit better. Right, you can see that's the mark on the pipe that I've put on there, which I need to line up with that slot in the gauge. I'll just move it down here. Just move that up there until it starts to touch. Because what we've done is we measured it out here, now we're just pushing it back a little bit. And you can see on the edge there how much extra we've just got to take off this to make it a nice flush fit to the base plate. So I'll mark that and trim it off, and that one will be ready to fit in. Can't fall any further than that. So there's not really much to come off, just a little bit. So that's the passenger side rear brace sitting in there now. Be able to take that base plate on and then pull it out of the car and weld it around fully and make it a little bit easier. That's worked out fairly well. I'll do the driver's side now, and then I'll get to welding it together. So it's starting to look a bit more like a roll cage now. We've got the gussets in there, and then the main rear stays are in. They're not welded in there at the moment, so that I can still take this back section in and out. I have, however, welded them to the base plates. Now the next thing to do is the member from that corner up to the centre of the main hoop there. Okay, so these diagonal backstays, these ones here are going to be probably a little bit trickier than the other ones. The top angle is pretty easy, it's 55 degrees, I just measured that with the protractor up there. And the thing is, because it's joining up to this one here, that's at a different angle to that, and just eyeballing it using the protractor, I've worked it out to be about 10 degrees, so when I put the notch in that end of the tube, it'll have to be at 10 degrees to the plane where the other notch is. I'll leave a fair bit of green on the end of it, that way I can have a couple of bites at it if I have to. I'm doing a trial fit out of this rear diagonal. Just got it held in there by one of the little tie down straps. Those kind of things, which are just a friction joint there, or the ratchet tie downs, come in pretty handy sometimes for doing this kind of stuff. An extra hand if you don't have anyone else to hold the thing up for you. The top joint there is looking pretty good. It fits fairly well. So to guess it, the measured 55 degrees has worked out okay. This one down here, it's probably a little bit harder to see, but it's a little bit off. What I'll do is I'll take that out and take that
notch around another couple of degrees. Just mark the end of the pipe there. We'll see how it fits. Once you've done it a couple of times, the strap's set up in a pretty good position. You just hook it around like that. Let you slide it down the pipe, the more tension puts in it. Because it's wide, it tends to keep on there. Just shuffle it a bit until it's in location. And that's pretty good then, yeah. So you don't need to try and hold it in position while I'm tacking it. Okay, now that I've put a couple of tacks around that, I'll be able to take it out. So, and weld it up. A lot easier than trying to weld it in the car. Well, that's the passenger side rear mainstay and the rear diagonal done. Drop it back in the car now and do the driver's side. Okay, so that's the driver's side rear diagonal in preparation for tacking. Looks like it's got a pretty good fit up out of it. So we won't need to play with that side at all. Just needed to trim a bit off the other side and now it's welded in. And just sitting there now. Okay, I've got the two rear pieces in there now. Just trial fit, they're just sitting in, they're not welded in or tacked in or anything. I'll put the seat back into it just to make the measurements for this, where I had to run the seat belts off a bar that goes between this backstay and the one on the other side. So I put that in there to make sure that it'll probably come straight back from, you can see where the seat belt hole is in the seat there. So on a bar that's at the same height as the top of that, as the, should I say, the bottom. So put that bar back here somewhere at that height, and then probably we'll see how close it comes to these ones here. I might be able to tag the two together, the bar that's going across that way and these. We've got a string line sitting in there now where that bar is going to go across. And just measured it, we're 1085 millimeters between the centers of that. So, and the ends are pretty much just a 90-degree cut. I don't think there's any taper in those. So I'll quickly knock that up and get it ready to go in. Put the rear bar in there now, and the seat belts are in there just as they're in their locations, but they'll actually be a bolt hole going right through the center of the through that member. You can see it from behind, they're in pretty good line. It's actually bolts on the end that'll go through. With a cross tube in there. So I've got the seatbelt bolts through cross tubes that go right through that, and it's threaded on the other end. And so they sit across, that beam sits across there. It's not welded in yet, it's just sitting there. But what I'll be able to do is put a gusset between these two to tie those two together. Just got to make it on the outside here because the seatbelt will actually sit on the inside there. So that's with the seatbelts in place. With me actually in the seat, they'll be more like up there like that. So there's still room for a gusset where those pipes are the closest to each other. That's all done. So that's pretty much the back end of the car all finished. As far as being made goes, it's not all welded together yet. I'll make the door bars next. I'll measure up for those while the seat's still in the car, so I can see exactly where it's got to clear. It's not a great deal of room in here down the side of the seat. You can see the roll bar there in the background. You get up here and the seat's pretty close to the door. We can't go moving any of the stuff in the door itself, so we've got to make sure that the crossbars don't go anywhere near the door handles or the winder. But that's a job for tomorrow.